introduce yourself. What do the people need to know about you, and like what journey are you on right now?
If I'm going to do this again, if I'm going to give part of myself, part of my soul to a restaurant again, it's going to be mine.
When I have $1 million, I will be happy. It doesn't happen like that. All right, guys, welcome to our podcast. This is Jeana and I am Madison, and we will be co-hosting this podcast now called Never Ending Shit Show. And that is in reference to our lives as business owners. We are making this podcast. Why? You tell them.
I think that we probably have different reasons, but for me, I'm making the podcast because, you know, owning a business and operating one has just a lot of constant struggles. And as opposed to just dealing with those struggles kind of by yourself and in silence and kind of growing from them, but not sharing them, it feels a little isolating. So for me to be able to like share the problems that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis, I feel like that will help me, and it would probably help somebody else because, you know, other people are trying to do the same thing that we're trying to do. So that's kind of my thought behind it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it'll help your business. She's trying to open up her own business soon. We'll talk about that later. And for me, I've actually started 2 podcasts that both only ever had 1 episode. And I think that's something I'll dive into more later, is like the ability to like and craving to want to start new hobbies, but never really finishing them. So we created this podcast, our second podcast together.
Yeah, the first one was called In Bed with Thoughts.
Oh, we don't need to talk about that.
Oh, shit. Sorry, go back. Can we edit this, or is this a full...
No, we can. No, I think that's perfect. I'll edit out whatever.
What? Or we won't. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
So basically on this podcast, we want to talk about business, but not in the sense of like we're really going to teach you everything you need to know or give you tips or interview people who are, you know,
pros in their field of business.
Maybe we will one day, but for now, we really just wanted a place to share our experience and document our journey. And even though we're both into business, it's like we're on 2 different ends of the spectrum. And so we want to share exactly what we are, our personal journeys, our goals for 2023. And then throughout us talking and picking topics to talk about, we'll share things that might help you guys, or we might help ourselves.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like self-discovery that comes when you talk about these problems out loud. And I don't know anyone else to really talk to these problems about because, you know, in my group, I'm one of the only ones kind of doing this other than you. So I feel like we have a connection on these kind of moments of triumph and moments of failure, because realistically, there is so many moments of failure when you're opening a business and when you're kind of on this self-discovery of your own path that it goes beyond the 9-to-5 workforce. And I think we're going to talk a lot about that and just sharing the stuff we go through. So hopefully somebody can kind of relate and say, oh man, I've dealt with that too. So
I think what you said too is like the word failure is going to be talked about so much. And that's the whole point of the name, Never Ending Shit Show. We are by nature more negative people, I'd say, than positive.
Masochistic?
Pessimistic?
No, masochistic.
I've never heard that.
That's like when you just think everything's dreadful and everything. It's like not necessarily thinking, but it's just like a darker way of thinking about things. Like someone who likes a lot of horror movies and like death.
I don't like horror movies, but I am like, I have a very bubbly like personality and bubbly voice, but I tend we both tend to like see the negatives and critique ourselves so hardly just because that's our way of like pushing ourselves, which is not something everyone relates to. And I think it's much easier to be around someone who's very positive and uplifting. But through our experiences, it's like you can't pretend to be that person. Like
totally.
You can choose to see the positive, and that's the thing is like every day you wake up, you choose to do things. So I think talking about it and being like, you know what, like she tells me her problems and I'm like, you're making it a bigger deal than you need to be. But anyway.
But you're like, I understand.
I'm like, come on, you're making more problems for yourself. But again, just to touch base on us, it's like we learn from our failures and we are out here every day trying new things, whether it's like a new strategy or it's just something we've never done before and we're trying to take that next step. Or for me, starting a whole new business
I was
venture.
going to say, that's like a huge part of any time we're around each other. You know, entrepreneur isn't necessarily like a job title. It's a mentality that we both like. I try to deny it all the time, but we both have it. Like when something exciting comes up, it's like, oh, I want to jump on it. I want to do it right now. And there's so much to that process of like following through. And how many of our business ideas have we done? A lot of them. And how many have we not done?
Definitely started.
And this is one of them. And so my 2023 resolution is to continue, see it through.
Okay, so we kind of have a list of the things that we want to talk about today. But because a lot of you guys that are watching this, we don't have an audience yet. But a lot of you probably won't know anything about us. So we'd love to introduce ourselves as far as like our own business journey. So you go ahead and start and just introduce yourself. What do the people need to know about you, and like what journey are you on right now?
Yeah, so my name is Jeana, and for those of you who know me, I am a chef. I've been cooking since I was 14 professionally, and culinary and being a cook was really escapism from a lot of the stuff I was dealing with in high school, and a lot of kind of like family issues, having a small stint in foster care and things that I didn't know how to cope with. So I looked to the kitchen, and that hard work that kind of drives you forward. And also when you step into a kitchen, you know, nobody cares about your personal life. No one cares about your schoolwork. They just want to see your quality of work. So I really kind of dove into that. And then as I, you know, moved forward in my culinary career, I went to the Culinary Institute of America. I went to Mexico to study, and I worked at some really awesome restaurants. I kind of realized that I have this like outside opinion on different things. I always just like was like, man, I want to do an event. I want to start a charity. I have all these little things that pick at me. And anytime there was an opportunity to jump on something that I could do outside of my work, like a pop-up for charity, a lemonade stand, literally anything, I just always kind of dove on it. And now that's kind of come to the reality of like, okay, I really want to work for myself, and I really want to make a name for myself. And the only way I could see fit to do that is opening my own restaurant, which is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But like last year I decided, okay, I'm doing this, and now I'm kind of right there. We are starting construction on my new restaurant that should open in 2023. So like the business journey is real, and there is like so much learning that involves in it. And then still, even though I'm on this track to open my own restaurant, that's my business, these little business opportunities are constantly coming up to me, and I can't say no. I jump on them. And so that's kind of like where I am as a person, is I've got this main goal of opening a restaurant, and I want a James Beard Award, a Michelin star, and I'll dive into all that stuff in the podcast, like my dreams of that. But really it's like, I want to be able to work super hard, like work myself into the ground, but I want to at least be able to do it for myself. And
yeah, because this is the woman. I've known her for how long? Like so long, 14 years. And she is the hardest working woman I've ever met, or man, to be honest. She's basically a man and a woman in one. But yeah, so she's basically opened restaurants for other people. She's done really, really amazing things, but this is her first go at really doing it for herself. And I think that comes with the territory of learning so much new knowledge about business. And I think as business owners, if you guys are business owners or you want to be, you'll realize really quickly, like, you wear so many hats. It's not just, hey, I'm a chef, everything else will work itself out. No. She's a chef, so she wears her chef hat and her chef coat, but she's also going to be wearing a hat for marketing, a hat for networking and social, like anything social, and she does events to help market, and just really has to go out of her own comfort zone and territory to expand and grow. And that is the most difficult part about business. Yeah. So it's definitely a journey. We're going to take you guys along for the ride, and we'll talk about it because we're just starting this podcast, but you're going to have a whole year of different things that come up that are so exciting.
Oh, I know. And I feel like me talking about it now, the look I have on this opening the restaurant, which right now is just kind of like, oh, I'm doing it. When it actually opens, I'm going to have a completely different look on it. And I think that's one of the things we talk about a lot is like, I have this very clear, obvious goal. And so I have tons of hats, but then I look at what you're doing. And from the outside perspective, it's really difficult to kind of say like, oh, this is exactly what you do. And so I think that what you do is like even more fascinating.
Yeah. So I guess it's my turn.
Yeah. I mean, I could say what you do, but I don't think I would do it justice.
All right, so I guess my turn. I'll talk about me. My name is Madison. We're both 27, by the way. We are like 13 days apart to the year. So we're very close in age, and we've been pretty close on our like career journey as well. But this is like the first time where we're like we're totally going different directions, and it's really exciting for both of us. But somehow still we relate so much. So it's really hard for people to describe like what I do for a living. We were talking about it earlier and saying like, oh, if someone asked your dad like, oh, what does your daughter do for a living? It would be so easy to answer. You know, my daughter's a chef. She went to culinary school and now she's trying to open up her own restaurant. And like, it's so cut and dry. But for me, if somebody asked my dad what I do for a living, I'm pretty sure my dad would fumble and be like, he would be scared
of that question, and he would probably just be like, oh, she's a wonderful girl. She's a great girl.
She somehow pays for her mortgage every month, so I think she's doing good. But yeah, so basically I do a lot of things. I am undiagnosed ADHD. That's actually self-diagnosed. I have a really hard time picking something I want to do with my life and sticking to it because so many things excite me and I can turn almost anything into a business concept. But over the last couple years, I figured out my favorite thing and what really speaks to me is marketing. So currently, me and my fiance run a small business for clothing and accessories in a very niche audience. So basically, most of our sales are online e-commerce sales, and that's shown us a lot of success. And I will talk more about my journey running a business with him. However, I do other things as well. I have a social media presence for something unrelated. I'm very into the automotive industry, and I did the YouTube thing for a while and social media, and that's where I got my start in marketing. And now, as I've gotten a little bit older and my priorities have shifted, I'd say I'm a lot more into like the business side of things. Like I want to help other people run their businesses and not be in the forefront so much. And then my partner is a graphic designer. So right now we are exploring our avenues with graphic design and marketing, combining our forces to do something that really is like something we're both passionate about. And so, yeah, I'd say right now I'm definitely I live in the world of side hustles. Yeah. I can do anything from like flipping furniture to buying low, selling high, anything. I run my store. I help other companies on a small scale, so no contracts or anything, but like make money through it on the side. Affiliate marketing, Amazon influencer program, just so many different things that like I don't really dedicate enough of my time to like claim one title. I'm just like, I wake up and I don't know what I'm doing that day, but I make it work.
I mean, if hustler was like a legit job and term, you would embody all of that. Because
I feel like it is a legit term.
I mean, but I don't feel like if somebody asked you what your job was and you're like, I'm a hustler, that would make, you know.
I'm a hustler. I feel like hustler has a negative connotation to it.
Like, it totally does. But you embody that, like, if there are people in the world who just like want to go to the dinner and have a good time, like she wants to go to dinner and have a good time but make money while doing it. You know, I mean, there is just nothing that she can't monetize and turn into some kind of business for good and bad. A lot bad.
Do you think that's like necessarily a good thing though? Because then it feels like you can't shut it off.
Yeah, but that's not true. I think that you're now carefully selecting the people that you spend your time with that can accept that and love that about you. Because I think that maybe when you're younger and when you first had this like itch for like, man, because I know I've lived with this woman before, and she has this natural itch of like, okay, I have to do this, and like there's all these things, and it is fun for her. But when there's people pulling her saying, no, you need to relax, you need to chill, that does kind of turn it into like this, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me, when the reality is you're just a like super creative mind, and that needs to come out. Like it's not something you need to turn down. You just need to do it in healthy ways, which I think you've finally gotten to that point where you can take a day that you're like, this day isn't about making money, but this day is, and you've gotten better at it from where, but you've always had that like need to turn things into revenue. For
example, like I also really like playing video games, and for like when I was really into it, streaming got really popular, and I actually worked at a place in Las Vegas that worked with like gamers, and it was like a restaurant and gamers and like a venue, and it was really, really cool. But it got me back into video gaming, and everyone was like, why don't you stream and make money off of it? And I tried. I definitely like, of course, like that's in me to be like, yeah, of course I can make money off this. I will. But I realized after a while, like, not everything needs to be about money. Like you need to enjoy life. And if there's anything that 2022 taught me, it's that enjoying your life and appreciating your life and focusing on happiness, that comes before anything else. Because at the end of the day, if you take all of that out of the equation, you're just working and you're not going to be happy. And you're going to be like, well, when I have this and when my restaurant's open and when I have $1 million, I will be happy. It doesn't happen like that. If you are not happy in your journey and you're not living a life that you're proud of in the moment, then you will not get there with success. Like it just doesn't happen like that. So we'll talk about that. But before we jump into anything deeper than that,
it's already deep. We're there. We're almost there.
I want to talk about, when was it obvious to you that you wanted to work for yourself? Like at what age were you like, all right, this is it. I'm going to be like an entrepreneur? Or I mean, I'm sure there was like different stages in your life, but when did it really hit you?
I mean, it did not really hit me until like a year and a half ago.
Really?
I'm way behind you when it comes to that because, I have this skill of being a chef for someone. I'm so good at taking what somebody needs and creating it a reality. And I've done it successfully now 6 times where I've taken somebody's concept and somebody's menu and somebody's team and I've made it successful. And so there's victory in that, and that feels really good. And so I've done that several times. And this last time when I moved up for Spokane and I worked for celebrity chef Chad White, I opened his restaurant, Zona Blanca, that is now James Beard award winning. And I was working 95, 100 hours a week, and I'm not going to be shy about it. I was only making $45,000 a year, which is not a lot of money, and I was working on this.
Not to say that that's not a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money for the amount of work she was doing.
For the amount of work I was doing the math. I was making $3 an hour.
Yeah. No. And you guys will not understand the amount of work she was doing. Like I couldn't even get a hold of her because she called them black holes. She would spiral into these like horrific, like you couldn't get out of it. It was like I was drowning in work and like.
And when I was making that amount of money, and I can be super candid with it. When I was making that amount of money for other people, I had time to do things for myself. Yeah. Which is just, I wanted more than that. And the fact that my day in and day out was completely consumed by this madness to make a restaurant perfect for somebody else, it clicked to me really randomly and really aggressive when I was completely alone. I had no friends. I had no one to call at night. I had nothing to do but drink and come home and realize like, wow, I've made such an awesome restaurant. Everybody loves it, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do this again, if I'm going to give part of myself, part of my soul to a restaurant again, it's going to be mine. I'm not going to do it for somebody else anymore. And it has nothing to do with money because I already proved to myself I'll work for the very bare minimum. I'll work for $2 an hour. But if I'm going to do it now, I'd rather work for free and make $0, but do it for myself.
So you're saying like it wasn't until your like almost like mid to late 20s that you decided like this is it. Like I mean, did you ever have a dream of opening a restaurant?
I've always had dreams of, starting charity works and doing little fun, like you and I have started plenty of business endeavors. And so I've always dreamed of having things that were mine and doing things for myself. But I never wanted to take the financial risk of opening my own restaurant because I just, I didn't think I could do it.
It's kind of like imposter syndrome, which is a whole different topic we'll talk about later, but feeling like you yourself couldn't do it.
Yeah. I never thought that I would be able to do it and make something successful unless it was funded and owned by someone else. Mm-hmm. And I think I just finally got pushed hard enough and I think I was almost to rock bottom when I was like, no, I don't care if it's successful or not. Like, I'm just gonna, like, I'm gonna stop being scared about failing. Because
like you said, it's not about the money. Like at the end of the day, like if you're in business, if you start your own business, to make money, it's like, if that's your goal, you're going to be really disappointed. It doesn't happen like that. It takes a lot of time, dedication, energy, your own money, reinvesting. And I mean, even me, I'm almost 4 years deep in this business with my partner, and last year was super discouraging. Actually, 2021, we made so much money, but nothing really came back into our pockets because it costs so much money to stay relevant and to keep creating products for people. And so, at the end of the day, it's like, if you're in it for the money, it's not going to be what you think it is. It takes money to really grow a business. And so most people don't see success till like 3 to 5 years at the earliest.
Exactly.
And then on top of it, you have to be good at your money. Good with your money. So
that's another topic too.
Wearing another hat, being your own financial advisor, and like it's not easy. But okay, so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, well, yes. And so for you, I mean, I knew it from a long age I feel like I know when you wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'm wondering if yours matches up with my thought.
Okay, let's see. I feel like we were not friends, but I might have told you.
Maybe. I mean,
okay, just my background. Neither one of my parents is an entrepreneur or into business at all. My mom was an anesthesiologist, very smart woman, very intelligent. And then my dad is a computer programmer, again, very intelligent, but both of them very conservative and traditional with like, you're going to graduate. They put me in a really awesome school district, and they were really, their goal for their kids was like, you graduate, you go to college, you get a good job, you have a family, like very traditional in that sense. And like, I was the least bit traditional growing, neither of us, but for my family, it was very like, I was that kid with like blue hair and like
which, and for my family situation, blue hair and like crazy music made sense. But when you go over to her house, it was like clearly sticking out.
It almost looked like I was that kid that was just trying to like rebel against their parents, but it wasn't like a rebellion against them necessarily. It's like, it was who I was, like the creative expression through like changing my hair or dressing a certain way, or it was just, another thing I would do all the time is rearrange my furniture and like paint, to this day, like paint my room different colors. And so I realized later in life, I'm like, all those things were that's just who I am. It'll never change. I'll never grow out of them. And yes, it's annoying, but also it's fun. It's who I am.
Yeah.
But my first entrepreneur like endeavor was I would take old shorts that I didn't fit into anymore and I would cut the pockets out of the back and sew up the edges. So imagine like a jean pocket, and I'd sew up the edges and tie, or I don't even know, like sew on a piece of string. And I would make a couple of them, go down to the street corner, which was pretty far from my house, outside of our like gated community. And I would like slang these jean pocket purses on the street corner, and in a good neighborhood. So it wasn't like, I don't know if I would ever let my kid do that. Like I was unsupervised. Had my little table, and I'm like, all right, I don't even know how much I sold them for. I must have been like 10 years old. It's so crazy to think about. But in my head, it's like, I don't remember, but like what made me want to do that? And at a young age too, my mom for Easter, she bought me a lemonade stand that she got from Big Lots or Kmart or something.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved going outside and slinging lemonade, that, you know, just pre-mixed lemonade, like not like just any other kid would do that. And I don't know, something about it was like, I can make money and I'm independent, and I loved it. And I feel like, I don't know, growing up, I struggled figuring out what I wanted to do because it was so not traditional that it was like, I would feel shame if that's the path I wanted to go down. And I tried so hard to want to be in the medical field or, you know, something intelligent that would be a good career for me, but I just didn't ever click. And I wasn't bad at school, but I didn't really enjoy school. So I didn't really want to go to college. And I definitely didn't want to go to college and not know what I wanted to do. So for me, I think it was like senior year when I decided I wanted to get into film. Yeah. I was super into it in high school. And then that was kind of the path I took. And then ultimately decided not to go to college for it. And I moved to LA at 18 and started that whole journey. And that's something we could talk about later maybe. But
I feel like you're underplaying the film thing a little bit, because at our age, at that time, not that many people were already planning to like leave, like right when high school came. Like a lot of people were like, okay, we're going to take summer break, right? Like this woman was like bags packed, ready to go. I mean, like that was all she cared about. She didn't care about summer break. There was no like, hey, let's hang out and have one more party. None of that. It was like the second school was done and like you knew that like your commitments were over, you were like, what's next? And it was, it stood out because I mean, we all have tons of friends. You were my only friend that was doing that at that intensity.
Yeah, it definitely, like, I think the statistic for our school was I had a pretty big graduating class, and 95% of my graduating class went to college. Like, they signed up and were going to college.
I didn't go to the nice school, so like, staggeringly lower than that. It was
a, like, total wealthy area that, like, I went to school in. But yeah, so I was part of the 5%, and it's not that I wasn't intelligent. I graduated with a 3.6 GPA, and I took AP classes and IB classes, not all of them, but some of them. Like, I was not, like, dumb or incapable, but I just didn't want that for myself. And I will blame, you know, that's kind of my rebellious, like, I was fueled by rage and anger and disappointment. And that is what kind of pushed me in the direction of like, I gotta go. I gotta do something for myself that nobody can take away from me. And that's kind of the fun part about business. It's like, that's yours. That's your baby. Like, you're in control. And I think when you're fully in control of your life and your decisions, and you're not acting out of fear, which of course, like 18-year-old me was way more fearless than I am now.
I totally agree.
Way less responsibilities and bills, but also just like true definition of a free spirit. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of a little background of like where I started. And then we both ended up being in LA. I dragged her to LA with me a little bit later. And then through the course of like 3 years or 4 years even, we've started a couple businesses together. Yeah. Do you want to tell them? You tell them about Lemonade.
Oh, Lemonade, yes. Which is so funny that you brought up the lemonade stand thing, because I didn't know that about you. Mm-hmm. And that's so interesting because I've always kind of felt like Maddie is just like a couple years ahead of me in a way, like with her just love of business and her like fearlessness. And it's funny to hear that she was like doing lemonade stands when she was a kid, because I kind of started having this inkling for wanting to do something for myself, you know, and do a side hustle, but make it really unique to me. And I remember, I don't know who I was talking to. It could have been you, it could have been someone else. And I was like, what's one of the like main like side hustles? And like as a gag, someone was like, lemonade stand. And I was like,
it's a good one.
Yes. I mean, that's, if kids can do it, I can do a lemonade stand. So like 22-year-old, or actually I was like 21. Yeah. I must, because I could buy alcohol. 21-year-old me packed a bin full of lemonade, a couple grocery bags and some straws and rubber bands, and I took to the streets of Los Angeles and started just a lemonade stand, like literally a fold-up table,
Mobile.
a cooler full of lemonade, and then like if you gave me a couple winks, I could spike it for you. Super legal.
Very, very legal.
Don't recommend that. But in Los Angeles, street vending is legal. You don't need a permit. So being out there, and I was literally set up between like food trucks, like outside of bars in LA, waiting for the drunk people to come out. And even Maddie has come out with me and like helped and like take video and did content. And I would be in tears at the end of my night because I would sell out of lemonade. I was making more every Friday night in lemonade sales than I was at my full-time job. And it was like, I would be so emotional because that was my first like grip on like, oh my gosh. And I remember looking at Maddie's face being like, see dude, you got it. Yeah, this is a hustle. The hustle's good. And I just remember being like, oh my God. I mean, it was lemonade. And so that was just one of those like fun kind of moments that was like opened my eyes up to this possibility.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Like the few ridiculous times.
We'll hyperlink the video of we'll hyperlink that video of the one you made, the trailer.
Oh, yeah. And I was like super into video, so I made a whole little trailer. It was really fun. And I think at a young age, like your 20s or even earlier is like the best time to experiment with like different side hustles. But there's not an age for that either. Like I just tried flipping furniture not that long ago, like last year. There's just, if you want to do something, go out there and do it. If you don't think that you're capable of doing it, just remember there's somebody else already doing it. And the difference between you and them is they just woke up and were like, all right, I'm going to try it. Yeah. So that's kind of what that story reminds me of, is just like push yourself. It might seem ridiculous, but like it was so fun. It brought in so much money and it was relatively easy, you know?
The hardest part was dragging myself to the corners of LA at night and being like, this is kind of ridiculous. You know, and I also worked all week. You know, I got off work at 5 and I went and I got the lemonade and I went. You know, it wasn't like I had all day to plan. I went. And so I think that there's
Hustle.
Exactly. And there's just some level of it that is really, really rewarding. So yeah, if you ever have those little ideas that you're like, oh man, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
So then we'll jump into our second business that we kind of like, that was more her thing, but then the one that we kind of started together actually had an LLC and everything for. It was called The Compound Team. Yeah. And the premise of that was to have a company. We wanted to have an event space, a wedding venue, party venue, whatever, and have like a build your own menu for people. So because of us and our skill sets and our connections, we figured, you know, all these venue spaces in LA are making $20,000-$30,000 a day on the low end. And that was something that we could totally see ourselves doing. And when did we do that? I moved back from Vegas to come to LA. That was like 2019 or 2018.
This is 2018.
The end of 2018.
Yeah. And I think like a huge part of it too was that at this point, now that I'm getting really creative and Maddie's just been like hyper creative, we're also meeting a lot of people with interesting skill sets that we want to tap into. Yeah. So I think creating a venue, but also creating a space for like people who are elite in their field to come and work together was really huge. Like, I think we were both craving that like community in like minds.
Yeah. We were struggling too because we were working with a company doing events and stuff. And I was bartending, which I loved. It was so much fun. I would bartend all these weddings and they would be chaotic and crazy. But it was like, I needed more. Like, I'm like, this is like, it's great. I love making $200, $300 in a night, bartending, having fun, but I wanted a piece of that money. Like you just would see the owners of the building walking around and it's like, they're making so much money just from owning this building. And so to this day, that ended up not working out, which was sort of a blessing in disguise because COVID hit. And if we had actually invested
in a space
to do that and run events, like it just probably wouldn't have worked out in 2020, 2021.
Yeah. And I think we also burnt ourselves out a bit because, you know, we planned this big event, which super successful, and let's link that video in because it's super cool.
So many hyperlinks.
I know. But like we pulled off this amazing event And like there were definitely flaws, but for our first one, it was amazing. But man, I had never felt burned out like that. And I think that kind of killed it, because there is a way to kill your business if you burn out too much.
And
I think we learned from that though.
Definitely, we're going to talk about burnout and mental health in probably the next episode, because that's been so prevalent. But yes, like that's like pacing yourself and focusing on like the longevity of your business is what's most important.
Totally.
But now that you guys know a bit about us, what we're working on now, our past projects, you kind of have an idea of our experience level. We are not, we're not being like, hey, we're 7-figure entrepreneurs and we're here to teach you guys everything we know. That is not the case. We are here to bring you along on our journey of becoming 7-figure business owners. Hopefully. And maybe it'll happen in 2023. Maybe it'll happen 2024, but either way, like it's on my manifestation board, so it has to happen. But yeah, so we're gonna wrap up this episode, but maybe we should talk about just overall, like what are some of your goals for 2023, and alongside of this podcast, like what are things that you're going to be working on?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the most obvious goal is opening a restaurant in 2023, but I think a huge part of that goal is really defining my roles and trusting myself to delegate and have because right now I'm like everything, and I'm going to have to really dig deep to figure out what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and accept what I'm not good at, and put that out for somebody else. So that's a huge goal. And then finding a balance moving into this restaurant, some kind of work-life balance that isn't the traditional one, because I don't traditionally want a whole day off to sit here and meditate for myself. That's just not me. But what is it that I need to make sure that I can last a long time, healthy body, healthy mind? And I don't know that right now. So that's really part of my goal of 2023 is to figure that out and create a really successful brand for myself and restaurant.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited.
I know. All right, what about you?
Also, we're not waiting to like the summertime or even the wintertime next year to celebrate. We're going to Mexico next month. We're going to do a podcast in Mexico. But we're just, like, even though we do believe like we can have fun and work, like we need to work on that balance. But, if we take a trip, like, let's go enjoy ourselves, like decompress, but also like, we like to work. So working and being productive is like, we noticed that last year. I was going to
say, there's nothing more dangerous than a vacation with you and I, because there's always a business endeavor at the end of it that neither of us are ready for. And like, we are like bags packed, ready to go. So I wouldn't be surprised
Chicago.
if we're, oh my God. Oh my goodness. That was it. We could sell this. I would not be surprised if we come back from Mexico with a different outlook and a different idea for moving ourselves forward.
Yeah, highly recommend getting a best friend who thinks just like you, or a partner. My partner also does. It's amazing. Like, we don't annoy each other because we're the same. But okay, so I'll talk about some of my goals for 2023 that are just like, I guess I haven't like sat down and really been like made that list, but for me, for sure, this year will be about learning how to say no to like shutting out the world a little bit, because like if you don't know how to say no as a business owner, you will never make time for yourself. And putting in, I don't agree with like the 16-hour work day. Like that's just like not, to me, it's not realistic, but definitely putting in 8 to 10 hours of like hardcore work. Like, you're sitting down and doing everything that you need to do and taking your job very seriously. I think I'm talking more on like the smaller business end, not like having liabilities and people like depending on you. Like, I don't have employees or anyone depending on me. I'm not in a service-based industry. I work for myself 100%. But still, treating my business like it was a regular job and having goals and deadlines and being way more serious about it. That's definitely one of my goals, and focusing on like having a really good workload but mixed with balance, and money, to be honest. Like, I know money is not everything, but last year I definitely took a break and took it easy, and that was great for me. And this year I'm like, let's go full speed, make the money, making money doing creative things that I'm passionate about, like this podcast or creating content, whether it's for me or other companies. 100%, like, that for me is my outlet, and so that's what I want to focus on, prioritize that. So anything else you want to say in today's podcast?
No, and I like that. And I think that, I mean, some of the points that she had are just so different goals for me, because I am going to have that 16-hour work week, but it's going to affect me differently. And so I think that part of what I'm so excited about this podcast is we think alike and we have different career goals. So I think we can, like, very much correlate and compare, and I think it's gonna be really good, so I'm excited.
We'll be able to relate to a greater audience too, because you're gonna have people that more like me who like are kind of all over the place, and have a lot of goals or like a lot of ideas, but like haven't honed in on anything. And then there's people who are like, this is my business, it has to work, I'm going all in, and that's more her. So hopefully you guys can relate to one of us. We'd love to hear feedback, questions, anything you guys may have. You can email us and we will happily answer those for you guys. So anyway, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you in 1 week from today.
Never ending shit
who
show.
Knows? Maybe we'll have 4 episodes at once. We don't know. Yes.
Oh, binge worthy?
Binge worthy.
Maybe.
All right. Thank you guys.
Bye.